Hey everyone, Shawnta Jackson here. Happy Saturday. My purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. And I do that by bringing on thought provoking individuals who can share information and lived experiences to help us all take a little deeper dive into ourselves and to make better decisions so that we can not only help ourselves, but our family members and our community. My next guest is Terrell Patterson. Terrell is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, and he is going to share the importance of conducting a self-assessment to maybe identify and identify and come to truth and face the lies that we may be telling ourselves. In addition to that, Terrell is going to share his personal story of abandonment, destructive behaviors, and how he broke the cycle to become his best self. Everyone, please welcome Terrell Patterson of Baltimore, Maryland. Hey.
Hey, what's up, Shawnta?
How you doing?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining me. I think you switched up. You switched up on me?
What happened?
No. Okay, no, it came in clear. I was going to say your audio, your visuals.
Oh, it's not clear. It's not clear?
No, we're good now. We're good.
Okay, all right. Let's go.
So I apologize for that, for putting you on the spot, and we're live. So we are streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. So everyone, please do ask your questions in the chat box and provide comments for us. And Terrell, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about Black history.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite person or someone that comes to mind that you would like to tell us about and why that person is important to you?
Yeah, I have many. It's really hard to actually grab just one when we talk about Black history because there's so many who did a great multitude and actually some that actually put together where it helped create me. So but one came in mind was Frederick Douglass. And what Frederick Douglass he said, when a man raises himself from the lowest condition in society to the highest, mankind pay him the tribute of their admiration. And when you hear that, like you said, it's just more looking at it. It is the hardest thing to do to actually come from the bottom and come from where people doubt you that you can come from to actually become even something, period. And he said right now at that moment, like people will actually give you the respect you deserve when you can actually pull yourself from a slum place like that and then become something else that most people less likely actually saw you becoming. So it's Frederick Douglass. He's one of the great.
Yes, and I like, and one of the things that I admire about Frederick Douglass is that he's self-taught. He taught himself, he snuck, and he taught himself how to read.
Right.
And just he rose to the level of multiple roles, a scholar, an educator, a leader, an advisor to leaders and presidents. And so that's one thing that I admire about him. But also, in addition to Frederick Douglass, I also admire Dr. Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah,
so he's known as the founder of Black History Month.
Yes.
And one of his philosophies, he believed that in order for Black people to actually intellectually evolve and grow and make decisions for themselves and be constructive members of society and of their family, that it was important for them to know their history.
Right.
Yes, and then also I like his book, Miseducation of the Negro. That's my go-to. I listen to that all the time on audio. Yeah. So.
I haven't finished that, but that's actually, it is a good start. And when you listen to it, it opens your mind up to something that you don't like. I love to be like a challenge. I have to have something to challenge my mind. I want to be where you don't normally think about. And see that right there, that actually, it makes you start thinking and you're like, okay, I got to really sit down by myself and just really get in go with this book. But yeah, that's definitely a good one.
Yeah, and then especially us that, we're going to these institutions, whether we go to a HBCU or to a predominantly white institution, we're educating ourselves. And even if we're choosing not to go the route of higher education, we're still enrolling in courses, we're buying books. And no matter how educated we are, I think that one of the important messages that I got from Miseducation of the Negro is that you as a Black person, you're not doing anything to benefit your people if you're just going to simply regurgitate the ways of your oppressor,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So the education and the methods and the systems and the customs that you're learning, where do they stem from, right? And I think it's important to know that.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. I mean, because if the problem is if you're learning a certain way and you knew that it was crooked or wasn't right, then you got to go to the root of everything, and everything starts with a root. You got to go back to the root of things and saying where did it begin, and when it began, like, is it our system or is it a system that was just created for the comfortability of them? So that you're definitely right about that.
Yes, and so thank you. So everyone, that was our Black History moment. I hope you take some time to research. I can keep going on and on. I have this book. It's actually in my background. I'm going to read about Coretta Scott King. And yes, this woman, she was amazing during the life of her husband. Before she met her husband, she was amazing. Mm-hmm. She was amazing during his life and even after his life. Mm-hmm. To me, she's equivalent to a Secretary of State. She's equivalent to the work of Condoleezza Rice, Hillary Clinton, or any other Secretary of State that we've ever had, John Kerry, whoever. The things that she's done is she traveled the world and she worked closely with Nelson Mandela. She and her children were arrested in South Africa for opposing apartheid. Like that's an amazing woman just to know about. And so that's my interest. My interest, in addition to powerful men in history, I have an interest in powerful women also.
Well, you should, in a way you should, because they say, behind every strong man is a strong woman. But I think, honestly, the woman, believe it or not, the woman is somewhat the foundation of certain things. It's like because just say Martin Luther King, for instance. When Martin Luther King was incarcerated during the time of getting ready to go over Selma. And she was the bridge between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King to actually allow him the impact of that for him to go over Selma. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that when you have a wife, you just stay home and shut up. She played her role, and even a lot of things that that she was brought to by the government about her husband. She stood her ground and saying, "No, there's a purpose. Beyond anything, there's a purpose that I stand for, that he stands for." And before I let anything happen with his name, because it was a big lawsuit. Once you read, you'll learn about the lawsuit that was against the United States and everything. And she was going to win, but she said, "You know what? I'd rather take the quote unquote loss of it than to lose his legacy, than to actually win something of great amount of money and great wealth, and really put him under the dirt." And really, blemish his name of what he'd been through. And so that itself shows power. I mean, it's really powerful to actually be home. I think it's powerful to be a woman. Anytime a woman can actually birth a man, birth another human being, I think that's powerful within itself.
Yeah, it's also powerful that a man can give her that seed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so let's get to it. Let's get to our topic. The topic is living your truth. And you talk about in your speaking engagements, and then also in your book, Addicted to Lies, you talk about the importance of conducting a self-assessment or a self-evaluation to identify and to deal with the lies that you tell yourself or that you may be telling yourself. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I think first and foremost, self-evaluation is one of the most important things for me. It's almost kind of like if it was a disease, I think that's the cure to everything. And the thing about it is because you have to start back, going back to the root. You got to go back to the root of things. Like for me, if you look at my life and how it was, even in my book, it tells you, I can look and say, well, this happened because of this person not being in my life. This happened because this person betrayed me. This happened. And when you look at it, is that out of the equation of everyone around you, you're the common denominator of everything. So my thing is that for you to point fingers is the best way to do is point fingers at yourself and say, what is it at this point where I'm able to do it myself and lead it, lead life on an adult level? How can I actually start a new process, start a new domino effect? And I think it's one of the greatest things you can do. And I think you really have to go back and just check yourself. Because once you saw yourself, you start your own system. Your system starts. You know what I mean? When you become a man, you put away your childish things and you actually say, you know what, this man and woman, you actually say, you know what can I do to stop this generational curse or generational thing that's happening to me as a system, and just keep going on, you know. So you got to break this thing yourself.
Okay. And can you give us some examples of some of those lies, or maybe even some personal examples of some lies that you were telling yourself at one point?
Oh man, I have a lot.
One.
I just say, okay, let's just say the lies that I probably actually was telling myself, thinking that I was, I thought that I was actually doing well as a dad, as a father. And it hit me hard about, like, I'm a dad. My first daughter was, she was born in 2006. And when you think you're doing because of what you've been taught. And you got to understand, if you've been taught a certain way, then all you're going to do is actually produce that same thing by, you know, keep encouraging. And I think for me, I don't know. I think for me, I learned that a lot of things that I wasn't teaching my daughter, was a lot of things that I wanted to be taught to actually bloom me in a better way. So I believe a lot of times I did. I used to lie and say I was doing this for my daughter. I was, you know, you go out and you hustle, you try to do stuff, but then I wasn't instilling the time that I wanted, which is the care, the nurturing. And men, we can nurture too in ways. And I wasn't doing that. So I wasn't being the best dad that I knew I could be. And so I had to really grasp hold of that. And I said, the key thing in life is balance. I need to create a balance so I can go out and provide for my daughter financially, but at the same time, actually be there and give her some of the manly structure of what I am. Because one day she's going to actually be with a man. So I have to show her. And if I'm gone all the time, she can never see a man's development skills, the development level.
Yes, I like that you said that. And thank you for being transparent and for sharing that with our audience. And speaking of our audience, I'm going to take a break and or just pause and just check in. We have my friend Melissa. Melissa is watching from Las Vegas. She says, good morning. It's a beautiful day. Good afternoon, Melissa. It's afternoon for us. And Raquel, happy Saturday. She watches pretty much every Saturday. And so I really appreciate you, Raquel. And then we have Lorinda. My friend Lorinda is watching from Minnesota. And she says, wow, powerful words, breaking generational curses. So that was for you.
Oh, thank you.
And so in my book, I also talk about the importance of self-assessment and just being honest and true to with yourself. And one of the things, I actually had a rough start to this week. I was down, not productive for the first 2 days of this week. And the only thing that got me through, well, a few things got me through. One, just listening to positive affirmations. And so those positive affirmations that I chose to listen to was actual gospel music. So this song, Mary, Mary Can't Give Up Now. I brought you this far to leave you. You know, don't give up now. You know, it's something in you, just, you know. And so I knew it was just temporary. But in addition to listening to music, on Monday night and Tuesday night, I journaled. And I didn't have anything that I wanted to talk about or any prompts or anything. I just kind of wrote everything that was on my mind. And then I even wrote a few notes to certain people as if I were talking to them.
Okay.
And I do that sometimes. Sometimes I'm talking to myself, and I told myself, you know, the positive and the good things that I was doing.
Right.
But by me writing, it kind of helped me to figure out, you know, what was wrong, what was bothering me, what are some mistakes that I'm doing, or some things that are not contributing to me positively to my progress, or for my self-development, or just even my happiness, right? And so I think that's important to do that self-assessment. In addition to a self-assessment, you also, in your book, Addicted to Lies, you talk about your personal story of dealing with abandonment and drugs and your time in prison. You spent 8 years in prison. Could you kind of walk us through that and what I'm most interested in knowing is how you discovered your gift and your strengths through your time in prison?
So let's start with the fact of being incarcerated. I would say the thing about it is that when you're in there, it's supposed to be the worst place on earth, right? But the thing about it is that sometimes you actually can find your sane in the solitude mode. Like for me, I was, they say God is not lost. These people always say, "Well, did you go to prison? Did you find God there?" And for me, is God is never lost. It's us. So the power to be, whatever they want to put it, is there. It's already there. The thing about it is that I had to really sit back and have self time. And just like you said about your week this week, a lot of times, even when we think we're doing so much and we're staying busy, that doesn't mean we're being productive. It just means that we're moving, and it's giving our mindset a notion that, oh, we got to stay busy. We stay busy. We're doing something. And a lot of times you can burn a lot. You ever ride around the city in your city and you just drive, and you're like, I got to put gas in my tank again already by the time you get home. And but there's sometimes you don't have to do anything. So when I was inside, for me, doing nothing was doing a lot. And it took, I always knew inside I was bigger than what I was as far as believing in myself. But the problem was when I was inside, it took a lot when I seen people believing in me more in a place where they're not supposed to. People were coming into my cell, and my cell was a place where people would cry at. They were literally men, grown men crying. They're lifers, and I was on maximum security. So it was lifers. You got people who did rape, everything you can think of, and they were there, and they would come and confess. And for me, I didn't even like church that much. I was like, why are you confessing to me? But you got to understand, it was just something inside me that they knew that it's different, and they could come to me. So it wasn't really something that empowered me by myself. It was people, their power of giving, just that, let me pour this to you. Let me present this to you. And it felt like, wow, for them to share something that they wouldn't share to most people, not even in a courtroom, that's powerful to me. So that actually started to help me transition my mindset and say, listen, you count. You know what I mean? And everything you do, it counts. People are looking at you. There's people watching you, and you're not even noticing it. They see you. And you got to really understand your steps, your decision-making skills. You got to, even in the worst place right now, you're in a better place than what they want to be. So even when we didn't know who was coming home. And when I came home, I learned to meet, there was a lot of people. It was surprised that I could get home. When I got home, a lot of people, they literally, I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you, they ran. And it's a salad port. It's where you actually go before you get out to the main door to get out, and before you coming off your tier. And I was there, and guys was running. One guy, I remember, ran to me. He just said, bro, can you just pray for me? Because whatever you're doing and whoever you pray to, it really works. I can't believe you home. And it was just like, wow. You know what I mean? So this part changed my life. When it comes down to my abandonment issues, it started out with my mother. It started out with love. Let's just say this. So it started with love. Love is a good thing we search for, and it's what you want, right? But at the same time, who was that first person that gave you the example of love? And what did that love look like? How was that love consistent with the love that you think love is? So my thing is that for me, love, it birthed me out. It carried me for 9 months. It birthed me out. But when I got older enough to walk, it put me on the steps. It stepped me on steps, and not just one steps. It was I was on at least three different houses that I remember. That my mother literally left me on the steps, and she said, "I'll be right back. Be right back. Do you want anything from the store?" And like I share in my book, it was a story where it said they would say, "You want anything from the store?" And I would say, "Yes, give me the ice cream with the bumps on it." And that was strawberry shortcake ice cream. And she like, "I'll be right back." Now she never returned, probably in a month, a year, sometimes 2 years. But every time she returned, she would actually show up with that ice cream. And I was like, wow. But it seemed like for those years and hours and months, it seemed like a minute, because you just, love doesn't do nothing wrong to you. But in reality is, you're saying, okay, well, is this abandonment issue coming from love, or am I abandoned because someone does love me? And then I had to really make an example. I had to really kind of get a solution for myself and say, maybe my mother actually, she abandoned me because of the fact is that she knew that she couldn't do for me what the people that she felt like the steps she set me on, they could do. And so she really did love me, but I looked at it as an abandonment. Well, it is abandonment because you want to take what's yours. And when you feel like it's yours and you feel like it's ripped apart from you, it creates an abandonment motion. So now your actions towards things that's loving you, really, you're actually pouring out a negative energy towards it, because something that left you is not in your presence. So a lot of that, it became a domino effect. and it started rolling and rolling. It became, you know, just going down a spiral hill of just abandonment. So my abandonment issue started hurting people, and hurt people. So I just kept going on. Even when I thought I loved somebody, I was literally hurting them because abandoning somebody became easy for me. So I abandoned one of the females that I told her I loved her, and I left her. And I left for a couple months and came back like, hey, like nothing was supposed to, you know, be wrong. And she took me back in, and I was like, wow, okay, that is love. Love, that's how love works. You can walk away, come back. But it's just like I said, it's just the thing about abandonment. It puts you in a discombobulated place if you don't really recognize what is really happening. What is it that started this this domino effect, this turning point in your life?
Yeah, and everything that you said, and for you to be able to articulate that again, to me, is an outcome of the process of doing that self-evaluation that you're talking, that we opened with. Okay. And let's see. Kevin says, "Love doesn't do wrong to you." What do you have to say about that?
Well, it depends on how you look at love. They said love can hurt. Like you can love someone enough where they can love you, but if they don't know how to love, then it's not love that hurts you. It's just actually the actions of the person who that you want to receive the love from. So love itself, because God is love. If you know, for those who actually read scripture, God is love. So you figure like, so love won't hurt you if it's God. But the problem is that love still actually teach you lessons. So it's not you can't run from it. Love is still, hey, smack you a little bit and get yourself back, you know what I mean, the track. And so you can start thinking. Because sometimes we get too comfortable with the love and we actually treat it like everything else. It's not as important as love should be.
Okay. And we have a lot of comments in the chat box. Let's go. Let's see. We have my cousin Kathy. Kathy says the woman is her husband's helper. That's why God put a man to sleep and took the rib from her so she could walk by his side and with her, not behind him. And so that's her spiritual perspective. And then we have Kanaith, and Kanaith is checking in from Virginia. Hey, Kanaith. Let's see. And when I was speaking about just my week and how I had to journal and to kind of figure out what was going on with me, to reveal and to release a few things, Lorinda, she responded and she said, thanks for sharing how self-evaluation. Oh, I have something in front of me. Thanks for sharing how self-evaluation and knowing self helps you identify strategies to produce positive energy and stay motivated. And Lorinda is actually one of my go-to persons. Like if I'm frustrated or I have some things kind of going on, and she's a trusted person.
Right.
And I love her. And let's see. And Raquel, when you were talking about love, I think I put this up, but she said, yes, it started with love, powerful words when you were speaking about that.
Okay.
And in response to Kevin's comment about love doesn't do wrong to you, and in response also into your response to him, Reverend Jenkins in Bowie, Maryland, she says, actions hurt us, not love. Powerful.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, they keep coming in.
That's fine.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. But when you mentioned your mother and you said that, you know, she would always come back with the ice cream. I mean, she was, and I'm bringing this up is because I know that there are kids right now who are going through that.
Right.
But your mother was not also in her right mind. She was battling a drug addiction.
Right.
Is your mother is she living now?
Yes, actually. So like I said in my book, she actually was, addicted to drugs. So her addiction, I got that word addiction from that too. So she was addicted to drugs, and that's what allowed her to. So it wasn't her lack of love. Her love, she couldn't love me properly if she was actually, it was something that had a hold of her that love couldn't even, I'm blessed that her love for me was enough to even fight that drug for a few minutes just to put me on those steps. Because like I said, tell people, she could have put me in a place where the crack house. She could have put me in a place where, you know, she could have sold me. Some people sell their children for drugs, and she didn't. So she chose that. So I love my mother for that. But yes, my mother is still alive. They actually, not only did she have, she was sick by drugs, she also found out she had HIV. And they gave her, she got 3 months to live. And, you know, a lot of stuff happened with, you know, with that. And so we had to battle with that. But that was like 8 years ago. So she proved that fact. And that's a miracle within itself that she's still alive. But yes, she's still alive. She's doing well. That's my hero. As we speak right now, she's in the hospital right now due to one of her lungs not acting right. So for that, but she's still strong. I just talked to her. I'm actually about to go see her again once I leave here. But she's still full of strength, full of energy. She's my hero because even after all she went through, she has no remorse about a lot of things because she said it wasn't me that actually did half of those things. So I can't really feel sorry for a lot of things that that was in control of me doing those things. So it made me easier to forgive her though. So I forgive her. That's one of my best friends. My she's one of my greatest. She's really my wife. So she's it for me.
That's good. And by you having a healthy relationship now with your mother, that is going to carry you along for the rest of your life. And then any other relationships that you may be building or that you may build in the future, that is going to matter, and that is going to help to solidify and strengthen those future relationships as well.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right, they will. They do. So I mean, it helped a lot. Because this is the track. Before we go into the next, the thing about it is, if I couldn't forgive my mother, I don't think, period, as a person, I could go on. Like nobody could get the goodness from me, because my thing is that was something that was a monster inside of me, and I had to let go. I had to let go of that. Other than that, you know, who I am today and where I'm growing to, it wouldn't even exist.
Okay. And Kanaith, she was asking a question. She's like, how did you start the conversation for healing about her addiction? You know what? I actually want to move on from that discussion. However, we do have Lynn James. Lynn James was my show last week and a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And says that she's praying for you and your mother. And as you were speaking about your mother and her current condition, I was thinking the same thing and saying a prayer for her as you were speaking. So just
Thank you.
Okay. I'm multitasking here. All right. Yeah. So there's a few chats in the comment, and you can go back and read that after we the show. So thank you everyone for your kind words. Terrell will definitely see them. And so let's talk about present day, some of the activities that you're doing. So in addition to being an author, you are a businessman and you are a speaker, but you're also heavily involved in working with youth and just males in general and men in Baltimore City. Can you tell us a little bit about those endeavors?
Yes. So I'm starting off with Hove. Hove is it's called Hear Our Voice. And it's actually one of my first grants I've ever wrote. I've never written a grant before, and I wrote a grant. And just 2 weeks ago, it was just I was just awarded the grant. So it's definitely a blessing for that. But that is a project. It's a 3-month program where you're helping youth to actually let them write. Right, I learned that writing was a way to free myself in certain ways. So just to teach them how to write, whether they want to write a book, whether they do poetry, whether it's just writing, free writing. And then after that, like between the 2nd to 3rd month, we're doing acting. And so at the end of it, we're doing a stage play of everything together. So I actually got a lot of people working with. I'm working with who actually someone actually writing a grant. Miss Tracy Jones, she's writing a grant. She's writing a script. She's writing a script for me, and we're working on that together to actually have this and using some of her youth. And that's going to be a great thing. So just to see this thing. So the main part about it is I'm not going to do a traditional stage play out. On the inside or in a building. I'm actually going to do it in the neighborhood. I'm actually going to cut off and do a block party play for everybody who can't do it, like elders who are in the window or something, they can't get out. Other than that, I'm with Dads United. Dads United is actually where we're fathers helping fathers, building fathers up, because we believe strong fathers, strong family. So that thing is that we're starting with men because we are men, and we understand that what we were missing as men to stop our ability to be that great man for our daughters and sons. We're trying to give them that from nutrition, a mental standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, and even actually working on giving them jobs. So that's exactly where we are right now. So if there's any dads right now out here, if you go on dadsunited.org, you can actually go on our website, dadsunited.org, and also on Facebook. You can see us, some of the work we're doing in Baltimore City. And we're not just staying in Baltimore City, this is worldwide, but this right now, we're starting it in Baltimore City. And just like I said, just to empower us. So that's the next step right now that we're doing.
Yes, thank you so much. And let's go back. Congratulations on the stage play. And I'm going to put your Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow Terrell on Instagram, I put it on the screen. It's Terrell Clear Vision on Instagram. And he also has a link in his profile if you're interested in purchasing his book. Yeah. And his book is Addicted to Lies. And so congratulations on being awarded your first grant.
Thank you.
And I look forward to finding a way for me to safely participate. Hopefully, we can get through this. We can get through COVID. But I definitely look forward to being there and supporting you. We also are connected through a community coalition in Baltimore City called Be City, and also in collaboration with Baltimore City Health Department. And so the grant that you were speaking about, it's not that grant that you were awarded, it's another one?
No, that's the grant.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the first one or not. So that means that I will be able to provide technical assistance to you.
Correct.
Work you through that grant. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it. I'm definitely gonna. I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need the assistance. Any help that we can get right now. I'm excited, but I also know being new to this area, I can use any help. But B City in itself, people that's part of B City, Dads United, it's a lot of people who actually collaborating to actually be being helpful in this beginning process of it. Dr. K, I gotta give a shout out definitely to Dr. K. But other than that, like I said, I definitely look forward to building with you.
Yes. And let's go to the chat box. Let's see. Kathy wants to know how much is your book. Also, what we'll do in this recording on Facebook, we'll make sure we paste the link for you to be able to purchase it.
Right.
And so we have a few connections. Kevin, he says you should connect with his sister in Seattle, acts on stage. So we'll we'll have some follow up with this. So we're networking and conducting a live interview at the same time. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I definitely will. Put it in the inbox, man.
Yes, and God has a plan for you even before you were in your mother's womb. Yes. And this was, you know what, we've talked about a lot in this short period of time. We talked about the importance of self-evaluation and to identify some of the lies that we were telling ourselves, or even not just identifying lies, but identifying our truth, so that way we know how to make the best decisions for ourselves and move forward.
Right.
My book, and sometimes we're in denial. Sometimes I had this conversation with someone this morning, and then also in my book, I talked about, sometimes we suppress things and memories. And like you said earlier, we stay busy. So that way we think we're being productive and active, but really what we're just distracted, and we're not really dealing with certain things, right? So we can't identify whether it be a lie or a truth. And so I appreciate you for that, and I concur. And that was something, when you were speaking, it made me kind of think about some things that I wrote about in my book as well. So we talked about the self-evaluation, and I think your story is important, especially for younger people. Sometimes I have a few viewers. Alfonso Mayo, he has a nonprofit organization in Baltimore called Mentoring Mentors, and I actually volunteer to work with his youth as a speaker for the boys and girls. And so your story and people like you, these kids can relate to, even just the way you present yourself, the way you dress. They can identify you're cool.
Yeah.
My guest 2 weeks ago, Theodore Ransaw, he is a scholar and researcher, and he focuses on fatherhood, Black male development, and mentoring. And his book, he talks about the art of being cool and how the kids, that's how they connect. It's because you're cool, so at least cool to them. One of the things that's been on my mind that has been bothering me lately is the amount of violence that has been happening in some of our communities across the country. Not just, this is everywhere. This is from Las Vegas to Chicago, Baltimore, just everywhere. And do you have any, in addition to the program that you're doing, just in general, for like, what is our solution? Like, what are we going to do?
Well, I think we really got to focus on starting one person at a time. And I think, like I said, Michael Jackson came up with a song, and it sounds funny, but this was actually one of the things that kind of clicked on me. He said, "I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his way." And when you look at that, it's saying before we can go and tell even the masses or anybody else what do they need to do or what do we need to do to get different. I think the thing about it is that we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing different to get a different result? Sometimes we can do the same thing. Okay, just say, for instance, say we were marching down the street for so long and we're saying, we shall overcome. And what if we never overcome in certain manners? What is the next form of action? You know what I mean? And it's just not to take away from anybody, because people don't understand that we needed Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, both. So what is it that we do that's different? Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So my thing is that you have to really understand, like, what is it that what part of life that you're planting the seed, and what is that seed that you're planting? And because whatever that is, it will bloom, and it may not happen right now. Martin Luther King, when he did this, he didn't know this he wasn't able to see this today, but he planted the seed for this to prosper. Okay, so what seed are you planting? And then when I say that, I point to myself. What seed am I planting to actually put in the soil so a harvest can be done for it, not just for our kids, but our kids' kids, and it may not be for our kids, but for someone else's child. So I think that we can start one system at a time, and that's what Dads United do. That's what Hove is doing right now. We're starting one place at a time, and we're saying, okay, right now, with Hove Hear Our Voice, we're allowing the youth to actually hear someone to hear their voice. Because a lot of people don't, like, we can, when you're younger, you say, when a child comes, you say, sit down. You don't know what you're saying. Just sit down. And you're like, well, the child may not know exactly how to say it in the form of an adult, but they do have something to say. And do you take time to listen? Because what they say can actually save your life as well. And for those who read scripture, it said, God said, I'll be giving dreams and I'll give things to the youth. So we need to pay attention to them. And if they're our future, like they said, we are the word, our children are our future. If our children are our future, why aren't we listening to them? Why aren't we taking the time to hear them out? Okay, you've been in a position for so long, whether you're a minister, whether you're anything, you've been in a position for so long. But when do you hear the children out? When do you hear the youth and say, what ideas do you have? Because time is evolving right now. And as time go on, you can't use the old dogs can't use the same tricks. So what do we do with ourselves first?
Yes. And we have Latoya Watry, my cousin, checking in from Las Vegas, and she says, plant seeds to harvest. Food for thought.
Dope.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, they like, where are you? And we have some positive feedback. We have Kevin. He says, very interactive, informative show. And he's a big believer in action. Let's get it. Okay. And for me, I, in response to what you're saying, or in addition to what you are saying, I think with youth, I think that we have to take more responsibility of, yes, bringing them to the table with our present opportunities, giving them the opportunity to be shared decision makers.
Right.
And shared planners. And so this goes for foundations, community groups, leaders, schools, superintendents. There should always be, especially if the topic is about youth, there should be a youth body or representative presence to help give insight and to plan strategies, your communication, different things like that. In addition to bringing youth to the table for that shared decision making, I think for me, our media personalities, our Black-owned radio stations, television, our media, I think it's even our music, like the distribution and those type of things. I think we have to be intentional about being more socially conscious, and the things that we are allowing to be promoted. And some of the content, I get it. We all like certain things that we like to listen to or whatever, but this is not about, yes, we can still make money and grow and still make business decisions. But at this point, and this is just what everyone can do in each different type of sector, right?
Right.
And I think definitely for media, I think there needs to be more discussion about, what's on the radio, some of the topics. And for the radio stations and television stations who are hiring talent, maybe in addition to hiring someone who has a good voice, maybe hire someone that has something to contribute and some different type of topics. They can bring on guests and they can hold engaging conversations more than just lyrics or music. And then maybe, and a lot of these young artists, they are intelligent young men and they do mean well, but it takes a leader to kind of bring that out of them,
Well, so if you don't mind me speaking on that real quick, so in Baltimore City, I'm respected. So being respected and doing the work that I'm doing, I actually also mentor some of the top rappers here. And I'm not talking like they little guy. They're like one, for instance, is named Boxcheck Marty. And the thing about it is that what he rap about is actually, it's a pain. It's an inner pain that we're not listening to. And the thing about it is just like how they did Tupac, they turn his words into say it's a dangerous word. And he said, listen, but I've been talking to y'all for so long. So what he have to do is also learn if this is a way, even the scripture itself, it says your gift will make room for you, right? Some people gift are actually to speak, to talk, to write poetry, to rap, right? But it's all in the based on how we do it. I mean, that's the thing we look at is how you do it. But the thing about it, if they've never been taught, all they're doing is still performing their gift. So if they're performing their gift, then it is our job as the people who know better or who know a little bit more to say, hey, listen, won't you just tweak it here and do that here? Because a lot of them come to me for counseling. And I actually do counsel. I won't put them out there like that, but I counsel them. And they do change their songs to say, you know what, I'm going to make it powerful. But if people actually sat down and talk to them, they'll learn how wise they are. That if you listen to their lyrics and how it takes a certain intelligence to put lyrics with beats, and that's not my skill. That's not my gift. But my thing is that with that gift, we just have to learn how to challenge people's gift of what we don't like. We have to challenge it, and we can't run from it. Because if you look at it, just say for people who did scripture, Jesus never walked away from those who were doing wrong. That's the people he came to say, listen, hey, I'm going to show y'all something different way. You do it one way, but I'm going to show you another way of how to do it. And this can actually get you to do what you do in your gift, but do it this way. Because like I said, a lot of people, when you get to talk to them, different 2 Chainz or whatever anybody listen to, my thing is that their mindset is like, okay, why they're in the game is because that is the atmosphere of they got to do it this way to get their money and to eat for their family. But when they get there, a lot of them, like Jay-Z, they change. They say, no, now I'm here. Let me really show y'all and help out my people of what I've been wanting to do. So my thing is that's the thing of how you can do it. And I think sometimes I don't judge so much too quickly, because my thing is that when you do that, you're telling a person, if you tell him not to do this, not to say that, right? But this is the way the industry is teaching them how to say in order to get a paycheck. Then are you replacing that paycheck? If so, then you have the right to tell them not to do it no more. But if not, then we have to now embrace it and say, all right, how can you do what you do best? But let's do it in a way where it's also giving us conscience, and we're building up our people as well, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And Reverend Jenkins says our youth have gifts that we need to help bring forth. And so I don't disagree with you, but I do know that at the same time, okay, so that's the artist and that's the industry.
Mm.
And like you said, are you going to pay their bills? Or, you know, I get all of that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that for us to seriously evolve and to be impactful and amongst ourselves and to grow, we have to make some type of sacrifices and changes, and it does involve, and it is mentoring youth, whether it be your family members, and you can start within. Not everyone has the extra time to volunteer with a nonprofit organization or to gather a group of kids and do certain things. But you have kids in your family, you have kids in your neighborhood or your community, or if you're in church, whatever type of sports, whatever, there's kids around.
Right.
And so you can choose to just have conversations and check-ins. We have barbers. Our barbers are and style hairstylists as well. But I'm thinking about barbers based off of my experience. You know, these are community leaders, liaisons, navigators, advisors, counselors, teachers, therapists, role models. They play a lot of role in addition to cutting hair. So I think, you know, those conversations, but you do have kids that are listening to these things and it's reality for them. And they're not necessarily thinking about it as, you know what, this is this person's truth and this is their way of expression. They are literally impressionable because, as I mentioned, there are kids out here that don't have a trusted adult that is properly nurturing them, or a caregiver that is caring for them the way that some of us will want to be cared for, right? And so, I mean, it's a lot. There's not a one size fits all, but I appreciate this intellectual conversation that we're having, and I appreciate the listeners for tuning in.
So just to chime on that real quick. First and foremost, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Everything. The thing is, what I'm saying is that, Ms. Jackson, we are the change. Right? We're the change that they probably never tapped into. Like me, I was motherless and fatherless. Somebody had to show me a little bit of something to do, you know. So we are those examples. And actually, believe it or not, is a lot of people who come from my background, they've actually seen hope through me. And I'm not bragging and boasting about myself, but just to hear them say, we didn't think hope and change was possible until we seen you. I vowed to not touch the streets anymore. I vowed to not, to just get my mind settled, to settle down with one woman. I vowed to certain things that I try to do my best to keep up with. I vowed to be a good dad. A lot of people, they want to do something, but they don't. There's no examples anywhere. There's a million examples on the radio. Like you said, the radio has a million examples of what to say and what, how to do. There's a million examples of, different things. But are there examples like we're doing right now? Right now, we're being examples right now. You have a great show that's been doing well. I mean, I've even watched some of your shows doing well. Excellent show. And you're empowering people. You're speaking about some things. And we need that. So right now, this is how we're empowering in the system right now. We're helping. Your live feed and my live feed is connected now. Now it's connected. Now the people that needs to hear something from you, they can hear it through you and me. They, people that needs to hear something from me, they can hear it through me and you. The same, vice versa. So we're actually being that change in it, but it's not an overnight thing. And there's some people who are not lying. They're afraid to do something different because they don't believe that people will follow. But we are the ones that standing up and saying, listen, I'm going to do it. What made you start your show? What made you write your book? I'm pretty sure you was afraid like I was. You was like, nobody's going to listen to me. My story is just my story, And I used to say the same thing. Nobody's going to buy my book. I'm not Steve Harvey. They don't want to hear what I got to say. And then I just started seeing my book roll. But there are people listening. And it takes people to encourage us too. So people who are listening right now, it's not that we're just here to encourage you. You're encouraging us to keep going on when you tell us, that you're listening. So we thank you. And I thank you, Ms. Jackson, for allowing me to have this, this actual stage right now to actually just to speak to some of your followers too.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate you and I appreciate everyone for watching. I am Shawnta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. You can learn more about me at ShawntaJackson.com, and also you can learn more about Terrell. Visit terrellunited.org to learn more about his nonprofit organization that he's a part of. And then also you can follow him on Instagram. And again, Terrell will provide a link, and I'll make sure that I add it in YouTube as well, in the comment section, a link to purchase his book if you're interested. And the book is Addicted to Lies.
Yeah. Let's get it.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.